The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Big Timber, Montana, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32939. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We're going to get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's first start down at the front bumper. On the bumper extension, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Moving around just underneath the front of the front bumper on right and left side of the frame rail, you'll find open-ended tow hooks. Up onto the face, you'll find dual air horns located directly in the center. You'll find your PA speaker and electronic siren. Let's move up onto the bumper top, and you'll find on the passenger side a bumper turret, which can be controlled from inside the cab. In the center, you'll find a tubbed storage location with a D handle for access. And then to the right, you'll find an 1.5 inch swivel discharge. And then further to the right, you'll find the operational valve for that front discharge. Let's move up onto the body of the apparatus, starting on the passenger side with the marker light turn indicator. Moving around to the headlight structure, you'll find a low and high beam. High beam is on the inner side. And then moving up from that, you'll find the turn indicator and also an emergency warning light. As we move further up onto the windshield, one-piece seamless windshield, 3 windshield wipers. On the mirrors, you'll find the lower section being flat, the upper portion being convexed. And then as we move all the way to the brow of the vehicle, you'll find 5 running lights. Located directly in the center, a forward-facing scene light. And then all the way up onto the top of the apparatus is where you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Your vehicle also is equipped with entry, which are keyed locks, and also grab handles at all points of entry for personnel. Let's take a couple close-ups of those images that we just talked about. Let's first start with the front turret. This is the control module located on the front turret if necessary. This is the tubbed storage location for your front bumper load. This is the open and close for that front discharge, and also the swivel 1.5 inch. Your headlight structure, turn indicator, and emergency lights. As we move to the side, this is going to be on the passenger and driver's side door, your Big Timber Fire Department logo. As we move just beyond that, you'll find the Shoreline inlet. This is a 20 amp auto eject. When plugged into shore power, the battery tender will operate. As we move to the side, we'll find 2 discharges, 2.5 inch discharge, a warning label regarding pressurized hazard and removing caps while under pressure and the hazards associated. You do have a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard because of those hoses. And then also a do not ride on the side of your apparatus, a fall warning. As we move to the center, the Pierce American Flag Eagle is your large diameter pump intake. Moving down from that location, important warning label here regarding foam failure and not to mix different brands, consistencies, or types. And also the lever for your draft foam and also your tank and a fill location. To the right, you'll find your 2.5 inch female auxiliary inlet. And then at the very bottom, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled drains. Here's some close-ups of those images that we just talked about. Let's go ahead and move up to the very top of the cab where you'll find an LED indicator for your water tank. And as we move to the back wall of the cab, you'll find a pole light. Let's move just to the midsection where you'll find 2 pre-connected discharges labeled and color-coded. You'll also find a release mechanism for those speed loads to be removed from their current position. Also above, you'll find an additional speed load release mechanism where you'll have the top load. Let's move to the pump panel itself. If your pump is properly engaged, this light will be illuminating, indicating your pump is properly engaged.
And then as we move to the left of this image, you'll find the foam A tank. This is the module indicating how much foam is in the tank. To the right in the gray area, we'll find your master intake. Moving between the master intake and the master discharge is your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and should remain plugged. To the right, you'll find your pump discharge. Further to the right, you have some warning indicators. First, in amber, if illuminated, your PCM fault with an audible alarm just beneath it, with the outer edge of the bezel able to adjust for volume control. Just beneath that, you'll find a pump overheat. It is an amber indicator also. Let's move down to the next section where you'll find the controls for your discharges, clearly labeled and color-coded. All of these are foam capable. To the right, you'll find your fire pump primer with instructions at least 1,000 RPMs while conducting priming operations. You do have a real blowout. That's a twist, not a pull. And then as we move to the right, you'll find your pressure throttle governor. In the upper corner, if illuminated, will be a check engine in yellow. In the center, you'll find your digital readout for the RPMs. And then to the right, if illuminated, you'll find a red stop engine. Beneath that, you'll find all of your engine diagnostic information. Below that, the blue module will be your water tank level indicator. As we move to the right, there are two, silence and menu, one in red and orange. Moving further down, when you select through the menu, we'll go to pressure control or throttle control. That is the blue button which allows you to gain access into those modes. In the center, you'll find digital information readout. And then you'll also find a RPM indicator if you're in throttle mode. Moving down once again to the blue button, this is the control mode, which allows you to gain either pressure or throttle. And located in the center, you'll find a throttle ready indicator. And to the right, you can work through the manufacturer's recommendations on the presets for gaining access for pre-programming certain pressures. Down in the lower section, you'll find your throttle increase or decrease with an idle button. As we move to the left, this is your minimum operation maintenance schedule, which we'll go over in a moment. To the right, you have a Husky Foam System 3. This is the control module in red with instructions for foam specifications and foam operation in the placard. To the left, you'll find a tank fill and recirculating line, and to the right, you'll find your tank to pump. Your vehicle is equipped with two electronic valves here. First, the number 2 passenger side discharge in orange, and also the large diameter passenger side discharge in green. Up on the right side, you'll find your driver's rear discharge, and then the deluge discharge on the right. There's also an important label. You can't see all of it, but I would like to point it out. It is the caution label here regarding that only trained personnel should operate this equipment only after receiving proper training. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. On the left is the GPM, and on the right is your RPMs. Also, the job number is also mentioned in this placard also. Let's now move to the very bottom, a little bit closer up on some of these images. First, on the left, this is your remote deck gun, and if you track the cable, it will go to the compartment just next to it. We'll identify that in a moment. This is your reel discharge. It's a twist, not a pull, and your primer drain. We'll talk about the contents behind this pan door in the next set of images. And I would like to mention across the bottom are all your discharge drains, color-coded and also labeled. As we move to that pan door, there are two things I'd like to identify. First, the yellow handle inside, and then also the foam handle on the instructions on the left. There are instructions just beneath on how to operate. This is also location of your manual pump shift. There's a protected switch on the left with red and an amber switch once it has been engaged. On the left-hand side of the pump panel, you'll find your driver's side and passenger side floodlights and also your pump compartment heater. Just a close-up here, once again, if we track that wire, it goes up to the very top of the image where you can see the control module in yellow mounted on the side of the wall. There is sufficient cable for you to move away from the truck so that you can operate this efficiently. Down at the very bottom, these shoreline outlets here, these are when plugged into shore power, they will operate, and this is your 12-volt battery charging system. Let's move just in front of the rear wheels where we'll identify bottle storage locations with retaining straps. As we move to the rear section, you'll also find bottle storage and also the silver. This is ultra low sulfur diesel. It's the silver cap. As we remove and go to the top section, you'll find the blue, which is your 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. Over the rear wheel, you'll find a tool board storage location. The D handle is the release. It does have a lock if it's fully extended just inside on the hinged side of the mount. As we look to the rear compartment, you'll find adjustable shelving and LED lighting. The arrows indicating the release mechanism for the lower shelf. Just underneath this compartment is where you'll find your folding wheel chocks. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus. We have a brake, turn, and also reverse lights. There are also 4 emergency lights located in this section. As we move further up, you'll find cupped switches, which will control, and I have some close-ups of those in just a moment. And then you also have scene lights, and then also there are some pan doors on this side with D handle and also flip latch, and we'll talk a little bit about the contents of those. First, let's start with a warning label regarding pressurized hazard. Also an entanglement hazard warning label regarding those hoses coming above. And then please do not ride on the side of your apparatus. This is a fall warning indication. As we move to the very top left side, we'll find the rear discharge. It is a 2.5 inch. Located directly in the center over the Pierce logo is your backup camera. Moving to the right, you'll find a 2.5 inch female inlet. And above the camera is where you'll find your traffic advisor. And then all the way to the right, I'd like to point out you do have a ladder that does extend further down and pulls outward away from the truck. There are instructions on that and also some warning labels regarding pinch hazard. Just a general view of the rear and side of the apparatus. Let's now move to the rear compartment here. These are the rear scene lights and rear deck lights. As we look to the center, you have a 24-foot extension ladder and a 14-foot roof ladder. Moving up to the top compartment is where you'll find pike pole or long tool storage handed and a 10-foot attic ladder, which is folding. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus. This is your reel rewind switch. If there is a failure of the motor, you do have the ability to rewind. That is the tool and also the location where the tool is inserted. Just a close-up of the reel rewind. Once again, LED lighting inside this compartment also. This is your intake, 2.5 inch female. Close-up of the backup camera and traffic advisor. Driver's side rear discharge, once again, 2.5 inch. As we go to the top of the vehicle, you'll find a covered storage area for all of your hose bed. This storage area is rigid, which you can walk on, and it also has yellow reflective tape indicating the edge for firefighter safety. There are also compartments in addition with LED lighting and dry deck material inside. As we move to the dunnage area of the apparatus, you'll find a top water fill and also a foam tank, which is your level A, and also that warning label regarding not to mix. This is your hydraulic oil reservoir. This is for your Husky 3 foam system. As we look to the general area in the center, you'll find your master stream device with top control and also remote control. Moving to the top section of the cab, you will find warning labels here. This is not a walking surface. That's why these caution and warning labels are located here. As we move to the side of the apparatus is the passenger rear. There is an adjustable shelves and also a pull-out shelf, the release mechanism on the lower right. Bottle storage just to the rear of the rear wheel. And as we move to the front section, you'll also find additional bottle storage here. That's in front of the rear wheel. When your vehicle is plugged into shore power, these receptacles will be active. You'll also find shoreline outlets throughout the vehicle. They're all 20 amp shoreline plugs. As we move to the next compartment forward, you'll find 2 pull-out shelves. The release mechanism on this shelf is on the right and also on the right lower section. Would like to point out this warning label regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious as to where you park your vehicle. Let's move to the pump section here where you'll find the American flag Eagle Pierce logo, large diameter pump intake, You'll also find a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. As we move just to the right, you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. This is an electronic valve, and because of that, there is an override just below it. I would like to point out this caution level, extremely important. Remove the bumper turret before raising your cab. These are the instructions here for your cab lift. It is a protected switch and also an activate switch. To the right, you'll find your green large diameter pump discharge and also an override. Just beneath that, you'll find the associated drains. Here's some close-ups of that image. Once again, the caution to remove your bumper turret before raising the cab. Passenger side 2.5 and large diameter discharge. And then all your associated drains for your pump drain, large diameter, and passenger side discharge. Let's move now just inside the cab. This is the rear section of the cab. At all points of entry, we'll have warning labels here to help guide you. There are also seats located on the back wall, which are fold down, and then also a center mounted seat. Just in front of those seats, you'll find the access point for your daily checks for oil and transmission. General view looking from the rear to the front section. Let's move now to the passenger side officer seat. Once again, point of entry, so we have those warning labels for your convenience. And then also your vehicle has the fill location for your windshield wiper in the front hinged area. Your vehicle is also equipped with a SRS supplemental restraint system, an airbag, and there are instructions not to mount anything in this area. Underneath the seat, you do have additional storage. As we move back to the front, you'll find the location for the windshield wiper fill. And as we move to the left side, you'll find an air horn button, two 12-volt barrel-style access points. And then as we look further to the left, you'll find the control module for your front bumper turret. Let's look overhead. There are a few items I'd like to discuss here. First, starting with the stereo system. This is the CD all-weather AM/FM stereo. You do have in the very center a light indicating not to move your apparatus. If this is illuminated, it's because you have a compartment or door ajar. There's also a seatbelt information here, green indicating they're in the seat and belted, red they are not belted. Let's move now to the driver's area. Once again, a point of entry, so we have these warning labels for you, and also seatbelt information. The seatbelts are red in color for easy identifiable if individuals have them on. Down at the very bottom, when you step into the cab, you'll find the air inlet chuck, and then also about the right ankle, you'll find the manufactured by Pierce for your department, date of manufacture, gross vehicle weight rating. You'll also find a VIN number, and then also all of the information regarding fluid capacities and cold tire inflation information. This is going to be your master battery switch in silver. As I move to the right, you'll find your engine, ABS, transmission, diagnostic port, and then switches below for your ABS diagnostic, DPF regen, engine diagnostic, and engine inhibit. Let's now move just up from this location where you'll find your traffic advisor control module. As we move to the opposite side, you'll find your stationary OK to pump and roll. This is an indicator, and then the water pump and foam system. To the right, you'll find your flat mirror control. As we move to the cab, you'll find the left side of the steering column, the ignition and start switch. Just inside of that location, an EM switch, which stands for emergency master, headlight control and parking lights. And then to the right, the switch indicated panel is a bright or dim switch for your dash. Starting on the left, you have your transmission oil, DEF level, and water temperature. In the center, you have your tachometer and speedometer. To the right, you'll have volts, fuel, front and rear air, and any diagnostic information will be displayed above and below the speedometer. General view here of the right side of the operator's area. Let's first start at the very top with your backup camera. This is the monitoring system for that. As we move down beneath that, you'll find your siren control and also PA system. And then to the right, you'll find your windshield wiper push for fluid. Down in the next section, you'll find an engine brake on-off switch, settings for low, medium, and high, an air horn or electric horn selector switch, load manager, and then 2 future switch locations if necessary. You also have your pull to apply your system parking brake in yellow or push to release. And then to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. There is a digital readout with an indication to pump in neutral. climate control for your air conditioning and heat and defrost. Let's now move overhead general view, but I would like to point out this yellow placard on the far left. This is going to be the vehicle height, 10 feet, 0 inches, length, 31 feet, 7 inches, a gross vehicle weight rating of 50,500 pounds. This also has your job number. If you make any changes to your apparatus, please update this placard. Moving to the right, we'll find a set of switches. Those contain the emergency master, the roof light, front warning light, side warning light, lower rear warning, and the upper rear warning. If any of the switches are engaged, a green light will illuminate within the switch. Moving to the right, you'll find your high beam flash, a future switch location, front flood, driver's side flood, passenger side flood, and also the rear scene. Same thing, green indicator. As we move further to the right to the next set of information, this is your pump pressure, digital readout, 2 for water and foam. I should say 1 water and foam, and those are your indicators for the level. Looking to the rear of the apparatus, you'll see 3 SCBA seats across the back wall. Looking generally to the center section, you'll find 2 EMS compartments on the passenger and driver side. They are currently netted for security. As we move inside those, you'll find shoreline power, 20 amp for each of those passenger and driver side compartments. Overhead, you have push on and off white and red lights, in addition with your stereo system speakers overhead. Let's now move to the front of the cab. We'll identify the same thing, but I would like to point out again, this do not move your apparatus if that light is illuminating. You have a compartment door open, and then also seatbelt information located on the display screen. Congratulations, Big Timber, Montana, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32939. If you have any questions as to the content of this video or any future questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.